Hello there guys, it's Joey and this is this week's witchy vlog for the Shapeshifter tarot card Alice in a Sea of Tears. So just to quickly recap on some of the meanings. Being trapped by your emotions but being able to find your purpose and swim through the troubled sea. Releasing your need to hold on, traversing the rough waters and sort of taking personal responsibility for them. The beginning of the week I saw two crows chasing a hawk off their field, and there had been a tone of redressing the idea of the blunt force goddess within Morrigan, which is a video I made already, and I think that sort of ties into the necessity of looking deeper into things, addressing things with tact and not taking things as stereotype and obvious, and really delving into the depths, ocean-wise at least, of all matters. Be they to do with yourself, your own emotional state, your relationship with deity, and so forth. A few quotes. Dear sister, you have responded to the call. I bow, feed your imagination, stay rooted in compassion, empathy, encouragement, and intuition, and it will navigate you through the fear. Fear is just a feeling coming and going. Your deeper intention is the voice of evolution. Chameli Devi. We are known by the tracks we leave, women of a star, with a wolf and a crow image. Sometimes people try to destroy you precisely because they recognise your power, not because they don't see it, but because they see it and they don't want it to exist. Bell hooks. My order from Star Child arrived, and that has been a video already, of course, and I ordered birch leaves, devil's claw root, white horehound, golden rod, hydrangea root, hops, rue, soapwort, yellow dock root. Let's just grab one and pop one in. There you go, there's some devil's claw root. So looking at the themes that tied this energy of things together, there were energies of fertility and female power. Now, fertility doesn't necessarily relate to the birth of children or whatever, that sort of fertility, and I think in this circumstance the fertility in mind, and this is something I will look at going forward, is being a fertile ground in yourself for your own growth and allowing yourself to be as fertile as possible, as open as possible to opportunity. And that is definitely something worth really thinking about, really delving about, is how open versus how caged you are to becoming who you want to be. And that's definitely something I need to write down, and I have no pen in here, so that's fantastic. Okay, so try and remember that for afterwards. Warding off protection and evil has been another, helping with cutting, binding and nonsense, so that was another. And yellow dock root, of course, is good for releasing emotions tied to the past. So this week, as people may or may not know, and probably do know because I've been going on about it, I caught my nail on a razor, creating the perfect circle moon in the centre of my nail. It hurt and it bled. Right, I'll do it once and that's it. Oh, maybe you can't even see. It created an almost perfect moon, a blood moon in the centre of my nail. and They Said Rock and Roll had done the exact same thing to her little finger, which was a bit weird. I had some personal thoughts about this, which I'm not going to share. In palmistry, the middle finger is also concerned with discipline and balance, and I really resonated with the words blood moon, as well as to do with keeping your head, you know. Morrigan has been speaking a lot about reign of blood, rule of blood, and I really honestly think it's her asserting herself at this time of year. I did feel a bit branded, and given that I don't know how to say her name. Is it? Oh no, I'll just say They Said Rock and Roll because I can't pronounce the name and my brain's not working. Being another Morrigan follower, being branded in the same way, it was a little bit weird. I also came across a Morrigan picture which was a pool of blood and a spear in it and her holding her spear in it. It was a little bit weird. I've travelled time and folded space, and here I dwell in wooded place, all mysteries of man and beast, north and south, west and east. Known to me the ancient song cosmos sang for eons long. I am the oak that drinks of earth, the one who dies to meet new birth. Forest lord, the primal king, walks on hoof and flies on wing. The antlered one of all that's wild, come to me, O forest child. Robin Green Elk. It was amazing. It's just beautiful, so resonant, so perfect coming up to Yule as well. We are made out of stars, you and I, Sandwich. Seekers are all following some distant star and eventually will come to recognise that this star resides in their very core. Teeth on coil. Never forget who you are, Lion King. Your mistakes do not define you. I am that girl. I grant you permission. Love the universe. Do it, girl. Okay, there's quite a few quotes here. Ask her what she craved and she'd get a little frantic about things like the books, the woods, music, plants and the seasons, also freedom. Charles Franzier. I love that quote, and I love the next one. She was born wild and curious. A cage is no place for someone like that. I play with the fire of my own truth, she told me. I will burn for the things I love. Maya Hollow. And this is mine. Spiritual goodness doesn't come from which path you walk, but the way in which you walk it. There's been a lot of judgment this week, and it kind of falls into the sort of personal responsibility aspect of this week to really take responsibility for what you are saying, how you are behaving, and making sure the two line up. There's an element of really coming to grips with who you are as a person versus who you used to be. And for me, the Sea of Tears really has sort of indicated the emotional tumult of really aligning who I am now versus who I was and everything I've been through. And it's this time of year, it throws everything into sharp focus. I get very upset around this time of year a lot. I have a lot of bad memories, and I get this sort of feeling of dread, and the feeling of dread comes from sort of this being programmed as a child to know that this time of the year was going to be horrific, and it always was, and there was always a problem, and there was always anger and drunkenness and violence and on and on and on. And part of my healing process is identifying that this is still affecting me and trying to sort of rewrite the patterns, find a different way to swim, basically. And it's really, really a nasty little emotional thing, because what did I actually write? I will draw on this. I did write something about Alright. Yeah. There's a lot of oceanic references this week. Pictures with accompanying quotes, crystal mandala with shells, all tying back to the Sea of Tears. It's a potent image, especially with this time of year, Xmas Yule, which whelms up the troublesome emotions, memories and tears that the past can evoke and really have no place in the present. It can feel like swimming against the tide, excuse me, with hidden dangers lurking in the depths. 1 second. Apologies for that, phone. Right, so there can be hidden dangers lurking in the depths of the sea of emotions, unseen until they strike and the tears flow. I have felt alone, isolated and emotional this week, as well as an overwhelming sense of lethargy, disconnection and sadness. Sometimes the tears have whelmed for seemingly no reason other than the time of year. The insecurities rise upwards, trying to choke hope out of me, leaving me feeling disorientated, lost, caged, bound up, so tied up in my own head. And it's a really difficult thing to really break down because the emotions come from all over the place and a lot of the insecurities come from all over the place and they're not reasonable. When things are not reasonable, it's very difficult to deal with them. And when you get an overwhelming sense of self-doubt, and it doesn't really make sense. It's coming from a place of, you know, it can be fueled by depression and fueled by memory and fueled by the time of the year. And as winter starts to take its toll as well, it can become a quite depressing time of year given seasonal affection disorder and the lack of light and things of that nature. And they all just pile up. And basically what is necessary is just to sit down with yourself and just cleanse that out and just ground yourself. Now, grounding has come up multiple times this week as the big advice. It's come up in symbols, it's come up in reading, it's come up over and over and over again, and that is the very first step, which is basically root yourself to the earth. Don't allow yourself to get lost in the sea of emotions, the sea of tears. It really is ground yourself to something strong and rooted, and we've had oak imagery just there with the stag and the light and the king. And it really is just root yourself in and ground yourself in and dig your feet in. And I shared my feelings about this time of year when it was really affecting me for a number of reasons. One, it leaches the poison out of me. So when I get really upset or really angry about something, it sometimes just helps me just to state it and then it's gone. Which is true a lot of the videos as well, like really old videos, you know, that they state what was happening and the pain and it pulls it out and then we release it. And then there's of course spell work and meditation and grounding and things of that nature. We're going to be doing some healing work going forward following Yule, and I'm going to really look at how I'm doing that and readdress the balance of that and look into new ways of doing that and share some of that on the channel. Burning Devil's Claw root, by the way, really good for a good cleanse out, which is why it's there. On the trip out to the city centre, I saw a collection of animals and birds, but what really stood out was the heron. I hadn't seen a heron in 10 years. It was a really troublesome couple of days when nothing was going right, which I've already kind of vented about in the Natter video. But the heron is about looking deeper into aspects of your life that will bring out your innate wisdom and show you how to become self-reliant. Are you grounding regularly? Heron teaches us that grounding yourself in the earth and your spiritual beliefs will help you discover emotional insights more clearly and quickly. As a Celtic symbol, the heron is noted for its intelligence and solitude. It symbolises patience, independence and longevity. It's an emblem of the otherworld as it existed in multiple elements, air, land and water, as a symbol of otherworld power and representing the feminine force. So that's very Morrigan-esque. And failing that, it's very Crone-esque for seasonal time of the year, that sort of thing. And I guess I sort of commented on this to myself, that I'd been dreaming a lot about my ex again, and there was a sense of real sadness surrounding it. I really don't like dreaming about it. It's just, I don't like being dragged into that past space. It's an emotional churn, and I look at it and I know where it's coming from. It's because it's the first person that I loved without abandon, and I just loved unconditionally, and I could never really tell you why. I could never explain to you why I loved this person unconditionally. I just always did, and it may be something that I carry to my dying day, and it's just something difficult to deal with, that this person so completely rejected who I was on every level. And when I was in a really dark and scared place, they just floated me off to sea, basically. And you know, it's the sort of thing that it's really difficult to really fully let go of and get all the hooks out. Finding out that they're getting married was interesting. But it's silly to fixate on the past too much, what cannot be. And that, for me, is a sea of tears. The sea of tears surrounding lost love, the fear and realities of abandonment. I guess abandonment is at the root of a lot of my issues. This is probably real shadow work right here. That the fear of being abandoned, of being isolated, of being alone, stems from a young age, and I always was. So it was a very real fear, in so much that, you know, parents abandoned their roles as parents and then abandoned us. My mother choosing my father after what he did to us, and my nana choosing my father and leaving all the kids abandoned, out to dry, homeless. I was homeless at one point, thanks to my oldest and one of my dearest and oldest friends, that I survived that. And it really does, it's really at the core of a lot of my problems, and I think a lot of people really don't sit and think about it, but it can be at the core of a lot of things. We're really afraid of being abandoned, and especially by those that we have loved so deeply. And that's, I'm assuming, why I'm dreaming about him again this week, because it's just a symbol of abandonment. O howling wind above the churning sea, the full moon brings some peace, the power just to be. The ocean depths are vast, unexplored by men. The priestess of snow laughs and says, now begin again. Joanne Morris, 2014. This was about one of my spell sets, but however the words came later. The words came this week. The words tied into the sea imagery, the full moon imagery, the priestess of snow imagery, talking about, right, now start over. You know what's causing all this. Now start again. O crown of snow, O crown of ice, take the hurts, take the vice, melt them down, begin anew, death to what was once I knew. Take hold to that holds me tight, as the snow melts, set it to right. Giving things up to the crone, the snow goddess, is the final push this week, the final sort of idea, the final releasing of those fears. So it's really, the card has been like ridiculous. It's literally done exactly what it said it was going to do. Like, these are all your emotions. Feel a bit drowned by them, feel a bit overwhelmed by them, feel a bit like run over by them, and then deal with it. And basically that has been this week to a T. And these cards are profound, incredibly profound, and it's hard. It's hard to take this really hard look at yourself and think, you know, these are the things that hurt, these are the open wounds, deal with them, move on. So yeah, that has been this week. Many blessings.